If you're a landlord in Los Angeles, this may shock you. You can lose an eviction case when the tenant hasn't paid rent for months or years simply because you made a paperwork mistake or a technical compliance mistake. This is not rare. This is happening every day in Los Angeles courts across the county. Today we're going to talk about something every California landlord needs to hear, the most common mistakes landlords make and how those mistakes make evictions nearly impossible in Los Angeles. Now, most of us landlords are not trying to break the law. They're operating in a regulatory environment that has become increasingly complex, aggressive, and hostile towards property owners. In this system, one overlooked detail can derail your eviction. Now, this video and document are for educational purposes only. They do not constitute legal advice. Landlords should consult qualified legal professionals regarding their specific properties and situation. And by the way, I got something to say about landlord attorneys here in Los Angeles. They don't seem to be the brightest and best in the legal profession. More about that later, as well as a story about a woman I spoke to, a landlord, yesterday, who has gone through hell battling professional tenant. So stick around. I want to tell that story at the end of this video. You won't believe it. Okay, the big picture is one mistake and you lose your eviction case. In LA, eviction law is no longer centered on whether rent was paid or if the tenant was in violation of their lease. Any violation of city or state housing rules, no matter how small, is a complete defense to eviction. This means a tenant can owe months or years of rent, violate house rules, disturb tenants, damage a property, and the landlord can still lose the case because of a technical error, something they didn't follow. So let's talk about them. The first one is illegal rent increases. Raising rents above legal limits or using improper notice is one of the most common landlord violations. Under statewide rent control, landlords are limited to just 5% plus CPI. In LA and Orange County, this currently totals approximately 8%. However, local rent control jurisdictions, like in Los Angeles, impose stricter caps. Right now in LA, it's about 3%. Landlords frequently make mistakes by using the wrong percentage, serving the wrong notice period, or failing to account for additional mailing time. Any of these errors can render the rent increase illegal and later undermine an eviction case. Misunderstanding exempt properties. Single-family homes, townhouses, and condos are often exempt from rent control, but only if the lease includes legally required exemption language. If that language is missing, the law treats the property as if it is fully rent controlled. This results in capped rent increases and strict just cause eviction rules. Landlords routinely lose eviction cases because their lease failed to include one required sentence. In California, if the exemption is not in writing, it does not exist. Failure to comply with local rent control rules. Cities like LA impose additional landlord obligations way beyond state law. These include annual registration of rental units, mandatory posting of tenants' right notices, and payment of annual interest on security deposits for rent-controlled units. Failure to comply with any of these requirements can invalidate an eviction regardless of tenant behavior. The next mistake, entering a rental unit without the proper 24-hour written notice is illegal unless there's an emergency. The notice must clearly state the date, approximate time, and reason for entry. Even well-meaning landlords who enter to perform repairs can face harassment or privacy claims if notice requirements are not followed precisely. The next one is illegal fees. California law strictly limits what landlords may charge tenants. Non-refundable deposits are prohibited. Percentage-based late fees and per-day penalties are also illegal. All deposits must be treated as refundable security deposits, subject to lawful deductions. Improper fees can be used against landlords in eviction proceedings and separate lawsuits. Security deposit violations. Landlords must return or properly itemize security deposits within 21 days of vacancy. This includes providing receipts for deductions over $125 and before and after photographs. Failure to comply may require landlords to refund the entire deposit, even when legitimate damage exists. Security deposit disputes are one of the most common sources of landlord liability. Retaliatory evictions. Evicting a tenant in response to the tenant's exercising legal rights is strictly prohibited. This includes requesting repairs or contacting a government agency. Retaliation claims can bar eviction attempts for up to 6 months, even when the tenant later violates the lease. Another one is habitability issues. Ignoring repair requests exposes landlords to habitability lawsuits, which are increasing in frequency. Landlords should address repair issues promptly and document all work in writing. Habitability claims are often used strategically by tenant attorneys to delay or defeat evictions. I know several landlords going through habitability issues and lawsuits from their tenants, even though when it's complete BS. I have one in my listing right now in Studio City. The tenant filed a habitability issue looking for $100,000. I've been in his unit. I've been there 3 or 4 times for inspections, termite, etc. His unit is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But these immoral attorneys, they take these cases left and right. So always make sure to respond to repair requests immediately. For example, on New Year's Day, 2026 this year, I woke up to a phone call from my tenant saying that his water heater wasn't working. I go to his unit, I look at the water heater, pilot light is out, and there was some leakage too. So I called my plumber immediately. He got over there in about an hour, got the parts from Home Depot, fixed it. We cleaned up the little water leak. There was a little issue we fixed. And within 4 or 5 hours of that phone call, my tenant had hot water again. So that's how you have to respond to repair issues or requests so you don't get sued for habitability issues. The next one is discrimination. California fair housing laws prohibit discrimination based on protected characteristics, including Section 8 housing vouchers. Even well-intentioned decisions can trigger discrimination claims if handled improperly. Testing and enforcement actions are common, and violations can result in significant penalties. This goes for real estate brokers as well as landlords. You can't discriminate based on certain characteristics. I heard that you can't even say, this rental or this home is perfect for a family, because that's discriminatory. So you got to be very, very careful in your advertisements and other stuff that you don't discriminate. Illegal lockouts are also a big problem. Changing locks, cutting utilities, or the old-fashioned way of removing the front door are completely illegal. Utility shutoffs can result in daily monetary penalties and serious civil liability. Illegal lockouts are some of the most costly mistakes a landlord can make that leads to lawsuits. Now, there's a few Los Angeles specific landmines to be aware of. Every residential rental unit in LA must be registered annually, including single family homes. Landlords must also provide tenants with copies of registration certificates and post multiple city mandated notices. Missing any step can destroy an otherwise valid eviction case. For RSO properties in LA, security deposit. For rent control properties, landlords must pay annual interest on security deposits. Failure to do so renders 3-day notices overstated and legally defective. Tenant attorneys actively search for this mistake to invalidate evictions. And by the way, I would never serve a 3-day notice to pay or quit myself to a tenant, because I'm sure I'll screw it up somehow. If you have a non-paying tenant and you have to serve a 3-day notice to pay or quit, you better have an attorney. You better consult with an attorney and have it professionally done so you remain free of liability if you make a mistake. Fair market threshold. Fair market value threshold. LA and unincorporated LA County impose fair market value thresholds that can prevent eviction filings until unpaid rent exceeds a set amount based on bedroom count. Filing too early results in automatic dismissal. Eviction upload requirements. After serving eviction notices, landlords must upload them to the City of LA eviction portal within strict deadlines. Late or improper uploads result in immediate case dismissal. So, in closing this portion of the video out, California's eviction system and LA places the burden entirely on landlords. One technical error can eliminate legal remedies regardless of tenant misconduct or non-payment of rent. Landlords must operate defensively in an increasingly hostile regulatory environment. Now, if you own rental property in LA, this information is not optional, it's survival. Follow my channel for real-world landlord guidance. I try to stay up on all this stuff and share this information on my YouTube channel and Instagram, etc., about these issues of what you can do to protect yourself. Now, let me tell you the story of this woman that I talked to on the phone yesterday. She saw one of my YouTube videos and called me direct for some help. She has been through hell with a tenant that hasn't paid rent for 2 years. So here's the quick story. She got an application for this woman. got 2 kids in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. All the paperwork looked great. She looked like she made good money. Her credit was okay. And, she was sweet as pie, very kind, gentle, soft-spoken. So my client, not my client, this woman, who may become my client if she decides to sell her property, she accepted this tenant. Within a month, it turned into a nightmare. Stopped paying rent. Wouldn't let her into the unit for inspections. There was a plumbing leak and they needed to find out where it was coming from. She refused entrance into her unit, and in fact, has not ever let her into her unit the whole time she's been renting for the last couple of years. Nightmare. So of course, she tried to evict her, and I guess hired incompetent lawyers. And that's another thing, landlords or people that are watching this. I just have a feeling that the landlord attorneys, a lot of them are incompetent, are not knowledgeable, and not very responsive in protecting landlords' interests. She went through 5 attorneys, and instead of a jury trial, it turned out to be a bench trial where the judge made the decision. Well, the judge apparently was friendly with the tenant's attorney or something, and she lost the case. 2 years she didn't pay rent. She lost the case, and at the end of the case, the judge recommended that the tenant move, and of course she never did. I mean, it was a complete nightmare. Then, after that case was settled a few months ago, that same tenant that hasn't been paying rent sued the landlord for 12 issues, including habitability, harassment, bullying, all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's a nightmare. So now she has another lawsuit from the same tenant that hasn't paid rent for 2 years. So she called me for help. I'm going to hook her up with the best tenant attorney I know. I know a lot of you use Dennis Block, and he's pretty good. I don't know if he does litigation, that kind of stuff. Maybe he does. He probably does. But anyways, I'm going to hook her up with a really good attorney. If you ever need a good attorney, call me. I'll set you up. This guy was on the other side of a case on one of my listings where he represented the tenant and crushed my client for $150,000. So after the listing was sold and the case was settled, I asked him, hey, do you represent landlords and can you help my clients? He said, absolutely, Derrick. I think you're a good broker. You're very knowledgeable. I'd be honored to help your client. So I got this guy. Call me if you need him. Really important. So here's the other thing. The tenant lied on her application, and she also allegedly furnished false documents, false paycheck stubs, all kinds of bank statements, etc. So, and it turns out that this tenant had sued the previous landlord. And, Dennis Block always says never rent to a tenant that has either been sued or has sued somebody. You want to stay away from those tenants. Now, I Googled this tenant and looked her up. I didn't see a lawsuit other than the current lawsuit that's suing this landlord that I've been talking to. But her previous landlord had been sued, and there was no evidence on Google. I looked, Superior Court, Los Angeles, downtown LA, Stanley Moss Court, nothing. So I'm thinking, wow, why didn't that lawsuit show up? And then and then this person I spoke to, this landlord, somehow got a hold of her last landlord, this woman's last landlord. And the landlord goes, this guy that rented to her previously said, oh my God, she took me for $300,000. I completely got crushed. And he said, I can't believe you rented to her. And she goes, well, everything checked out and everything. So she did fraud. She fraudulently provided documents, allegedly. Anyways, I start thinking about the situation, and I think landlords, people watching this video, I think I stumbled onto a solution to this, to make sure you don't rent to the wrong tenant, the tenant from hell, the professional litigants that screw over landlords, and that is to hire a private investigator to thoroughly vet the tenant, the potential tenant. AOA and AGLA, they have these pretty, robust tenant vetting programs where they check for evictions and stuff like that. But I have a feeling they're not as thorough as they could be. And the reason I know this, or stumbled across a PI, I have a listing right now, and we needed to find an attorney that had put a lien on my client's property. He was arrested for fraud. He lost his license. He was disbarred. But we needed to get a hold of this guy to get this lien cleared up. We couldn't find him anywhere. We didn't know what was going on with this guy. I didn't hire, my client paid a private attorney $500, my client hired a private investigator to go to the court and pull all the documents on the Pacer system, went to court to pull documents, online stuff. When I got the case information on this attorney, oh my God, there were so many lawsuits and judgments against this guy that I didn't see when I did Google searches. So my advice going forward, and something that I'm going to do for my rentals, is to hire a private investigator to really dig down on who the person is that's trying to rent your unit. It'll have employment information, any litigation for or against that person, all kinds of information. I mean, the information this guy dug up was incredible. So I don't know if it's legal. I don't see why it wouldn't be legal to hire a private investigator. I know that the powers that be don't like. Well, it seems like they're making it harder and harder to vet tenants. I think if somebody calls you for a referral about a past tenant, you can only say how much the rent was and when they moved in and when they moved out, but you're not really supposed to say if they were good, if they were bad, or something like that. I know that that's out there. I don't know the exact law or regulation, but I'm pretty sure that's true. So anyways, to end this video, I'm going to try to help this woman out. I'm going to hook her up with my attorney. If you need an attorney, call me, text me, whatever. I'm here to help, here to answer your questions. I've been selling real estate for 40 years. I sell investment property as well as homes and condos. I know rent control. I know attorneys. I know the scams tenants pull. I'm going to try to share as much information as I can to help you folks out there to protect yourselves from these unscrupulous tenants and attorneys. So again, hire a private investigator to vet your tenants. Make sure they haven't been involved in litigation in the past, and hopefully by doing this, we can prevent renting to the wrong, unscrupulous, professional tenant that makes a living by suing landlords. Hope this was helpful, folks. This is Derrick Ruiz, eXp Realty. I sell apartment buildings and homes and condos. I can help you. Even if you just have questions about anything, I'm happy to speak with you and help you in any way I can. Thanks for watching, everybody. Talk to you soon. And share this video. Like this video, share this video with your fellow landlords or property owners that need to know this vital information. A lot of landlords are ignorant to what is going on in the regulatory situation with renting properties in Los Angeles and California. Thanks a lot.